feet are controlling the two flaps on the.
What it is
the wing. Or
this is a tricycle, right? The plane is a tricycle. We have two main wheels here and then one at the front. The one at the front is controlled by the left and right push of the feet. So if I want to turn the plane right, I go like this, right foot down, and while it does that, it cantilevers. This one will raise, and if I want to turn the plane left, I go like that, left. Perfect.
Southeast, about 3 miles to the southwest of Ore Lake. I'll be speeding north to 2,500 feet to do some sightseeing around the Woodpecker Victoria.
So we're frequently going to hear other aircraft talking today. Right. I'll just roughly pay attention to what they're saying, and that's how we keep traffic separation.
Right.
And every once in a while, I'll need to broadcast out our positions to other pilots, but other than that, you can just ignore me on that stuff.
Well, that whole aspect of flying is going to change in the next few decades with the volume of flying increasing, or whatever other stuff they put up in the air.
It is. The States leads the way in that right now, where they are integrating all types of GPS systems for collision avoidance.
Oh, cool.
Now, this computer is capable of doing it, it's just not available in Canada yet. So if I fly near the border, I will get a chance to see all the other aircraft pop up on my screen here. And right now, this has a full GPS map on both sides of this, but I have it hidden right now because we don't need that for flight training. But if I was taking this aircraft on a leisure flight for a far distance, then I would put the map up here.
Got it.
And then, in theory, you would see all the other aircraft there, you would see their distance, their altitude. But when it comes to radio communications 101, I have a feeling we're going to be doing that forever because it's just smart business to talk to each other. You know, it's one thing to watch them on a computer screen, but whenever you actually physically talk to somebody, right, it makes a big difference. So right now what I'm doing is I'm just doing what we call an aircraft run-up. I'm ensuring that the engine is operating properly. I have my feet on the brakes, and I'm accelerating this engine to 3,800 RPM. A little tachometer right there that I'm watching.
Got it.
And now I'm testing my spark plugs to ensure that everything's firing properly. I'm essentially shutting off my right bank of plugs, and I look for the drop. 3,710. Go back to both. And now I'm isolating the right. 3740, 3730. So they are pretty matched. What I don't want to see is a difference of 200 RPM when I did that. Okay. So everything's firing perfectly. I'm looking here, everything is in the green. Oil temperature is good, oil pressure is good, fuel plenty. Battery volts are good, and we are good to go, sir. So before I enter this runway, I have to make an announcement to the other air traffic that could potentially be in the area here. And Midland area traffic, SportStar India Juliet Kilo Yankee, backtracking 3-4. So what I'll do is I'll get this plane off the ground, get it to a nice safe altitude, get us away from this turbulent air. And once we can get to a nice straight and level area for flying, which is generally over the water, I find if I go towards Georgian Bay, it'll smooth out and then I can start getting you on the controls.
What's the largest aircraft that can use this facility?
That is a good question.
I don't know the difference between jets and props for landing.
Jets certainly use this aircraft. In this airport, in the summer, frequently, there's a lot of charter flights that come in here.
There's a lot of American jets have come in here for cottagers. Now this is 4,000 feet of runway. I guess it all depends on every different aircraft, how much runway it needs. Without knowing the specs on every aircraft, I couldn't tell you, but I have seen planes in here that were 20-seaters.
Right.
So they were decent size jets.
Yeah.
This airport is overkill for this little plane. This thing only needs about 600 feet to take off, and about that to land. So if you're ready, I'm ready.
Collingwood, Unicom, Piper Archer, Golf X-Ray, Juliet Hotel.
If you're finding it too loud in your ears, there's 2 volume dials on the side of yours.
Okay.
And you can just lower it independently.
About 10 miles to the east, Collingwood, inbound for landing, requesting weather report.
So what I'm going to do is accelerate this plane, and at about 600 feet we're going to be off the ground. Then this thing will start dancing a little bit because we have a little bit of a crosswind happening right now. And we'll climb up to, say, 2,000 feet above sea level, and from there we will get you flying this aircraft.
Midland, Collingwood traffic. This is Mooney Golf, Quebec Oscar Tango at 2,200 feet. Just to the west-eastern side of Wasaga Beach. We'll be flying at between 2,000 and 2,200 feet along the Wasaga Beach area.
And Midland traffic, Juliet Kilo Yankee on the roll 34.
Over Wasaga Beach, this is Golf X-Ray, Juliet Hotel. We're just behind you. We're just sending through 3,000 feet, or correction, 4,000 feet. Heading into Collingwood.
He doesn't want to leave the ground yet.
I'll make sure I stay on the lakeside.
And we're off to the races. So only twice during the flight will I have to reach between our legs here to get this flap control.
Which flap is that?
Underneath the wings are these, what we call flaps. They extend down and they help get a plane off the ground quicker, and they help for landing purposes. There's our crosswinds. So when I come in to land the plane,
right,
I want to increase the size of the wing,
right,
to give us safer characteristics when we're flying slower. Because we need to slow the plane down to get down.
East of Collingwood, and we'll be coming over top of the field at circuit height, joining mid-left downwind for runway 31.
We're about 700 feet over the ground right now.
Visibility is amazing.
It's amazing today. It's that cold air is giving us that. Last week it was so foggy up here because the heat.
It's hard to translate what you see above to being on the ground.
Absolutely, yeah.
Shoreline, and
that's right.
For a novice, I mean.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it takes time. It takes time for people to get used to it. I'll make one more radio announcement, and then I should be clear of having to talk with everybody. And Midland area traffic, Juliet Kilo Yankee airborne off of 34 with a left turn out towards Georgian Bay. We're going to follow the shoreline north en route to Christian Island, 2,200 feet. So right now we're about 1,400 feet over the ground. The air got a lot more stable up here. That knocking around you're feeling is that thermal activity I was describing.
Yep.
That sun, when it hits that hard ground, will radiate these bubbles of hot air up and just create that. But that's why if I go over the water absorbs it from the sun, and it's not able to kick those bumps back up at us.
You can see my cottage from here.
Oh, really?
On Thunder Beach.
Oh, very nice, yeah?
The West Shore.
Yeah.
So where's due north?
Due north would be
that way.
On my way to do the turn right now.
2,000 feet, approximately 2 miles to the north of the airport out in the bay. I'll be changing direction.
I love this part of Nottawasaga where that little island is.
Yes. So this is due north right now, the direction we're pointing in.
So what Tiny Beaches North, or sorry, Tiny Beaches Road is a due north road. I think that's it there.
Yeah, and there's a little bit of confusion about what north is. There's two things. There's a true north and then there's a magnetic north.
Okay.
And when they laid out these roads years ago, they would have laid them out to magnetic north at the time.
Okay.
So it's just a little bit different where the true north pole is, right? The true north pole is actually further in this direction.
Okay.
And every year, the magnetic north constantly moves. So if we were to actually just try to fly the roads, we'd find that the compass is not reading the same because it's constantly in motion.
Okay. So when I see a GPS or a old style map,
yep.
North, what north is that?
The GPS would normally be giving you true north.
Yeah.
And your maps, it can get quite confusing because there's actually lines on the map to identify if you're looking at true north versus magnetic north. And it would say in the legend.
Okay.
Runway 31, calling with traffic.
Approaching altitude.
We're at a decent altitude here, and this is where I can start showing you how to do this stuff. So you'll notice that right now I'm just gently holding this control stick. I'm holding it with the right hand because I'm on the right side,
okay.
And I need my left hand available for throttle, for pushing buttons, for changing radio stations, stuff like that. Now, since you're on the left side, even if you are right-handed, it's good practice that a pilot starts training with their left hand because you need your right hand for throttle, radio, writing, and
yep.
stuff like that. So if you want to just gently put your left hand on that control stick, and I'm gonna start doing some turns with you so you can feel how much motion I'm doing on this stick. If I want the plane to start turning in a right direction, I'm just gonna take the control stick and just nudge it a little bit like this to the right. And you can see how it's starting to bank. It started banking aggressively there because of some wind. But you'll see the bank still keeps going. I don't have to do any more on that stick. Now when I want to correct it, I just go a little bit back.
Going the mid-left down.
That's subtle.
That's subtle.
With a short delay on runway 31.
Now if I want to do left, just a little bit of a left push. Plane's doing that nice bank to the left, which means we're turning. If I want to arrest the turn, I just bring it back just a little bit, just knocking it a little bit. So that's all you need to do to turn the aircraft. To climb and descend is similar. To climb an aircraft, I want to pull the stick forward towards my belly a little bit. So just a little bit like this back, and you can see the nose coming up.
Yep.
The reference I use to make sure the climb is happening is this guy right here, which is called our altimeter. So right now, if I pull that nose back, you'll see that this needle will start to climb.
So we're 2,700?
2,700 feet above sea level.
Okay.
The other thing I watch during the climb is our airspeed. Since we're going up, we're losing energy, so we're decreasing our airspeed. So if I want to keep continuing to climb, I would either have to add more power. I'm adding power so the climb happens safely. Now what I don't want to do in this aircraft is go any slower than 60. When I start going slower than 60, we enter a condition called slow flight. And it could potentially be dangerous if a person's not trained for it. But why would I want to push that envelope if we don't need to?
Right.
So all I do, if I feel the plane is slowing down too much, I push the nose forward and it'll speed up. It's very, very logical. There's a lot going on the first time a person flies, but in time, the logic of it really seems to hit home for people and they get it.
Right.
Now conversely, if I want to take this plane and descend it, we're now at 3,000 feet above sea level. If I want to take this plane and descend it, I no longer need this kind of throttle on, so I'm going to reduce my power. And I'm just going to put the nose forward a little bit. And we get confirmation it's actually descending by watching that needle drop. I'm watching my airspeed. My airspeed's nice. It's 92 knots. We're moving, right? So we're in no danger of this plane being in a dangerous condition right now because it's going so fast. I'll level it off here at 2,600 feet. Once I get to 2700, then I'll just add my cruise power again, and this thing's flying. So for the purpose of today, and being an initial lesson, I'll let you just play with that control stick. Try a left turn, try a right turn, whatever you like. I'm going to keep my hand right near it.
Sure.
And I won't let you get us into any trouble, so feel free to play with this thing.
So it's very subtle, right?
Very, very subtle.
So I'll go left.
Sure. Very nice. Bridgeton Island in front of us.
A massive island.
It is.
I'll go right. What I love about this plane is the visibility.
Absolutely. We have a 360-degree view with this bubble canopy like this.
Now, should I? I'm trying to correct it.
Altitude.
That's fine.
I feel like I'm dipping a little. Is that
You were? Yeah.
that me though, or?
Yeah, it could have been.
Okay.
In a turn, we lose energy. So when we lose energy, we lose a little bit of airspeed, which will cause the plane to start descending. So we generally compensate by a gentle pullback,
Delta Golf Victor,
depending on how aggressive we are in the turn.
So you want to be this way and this way and this way and this way is what this stick
Exactly.
controls.
Yeah. The foot pedals are a little more advanced. That's why I said we're not going to get involved in that. And even right now, I'm not even doing anything with them.
Right.
3x5.
What we would use them for is they help correct for wind drift. So if the wind is pushing us in a direction we don't want to go, and we want to try to fly a straight line, we correct it by using the pedal. We steer the nose and the tail of the plane in a different direction.
Right.
You might have a seatbelt strap blowing over your plane.
Cannot get over the clarity of the view.
Oh yeah, today's a beautiful day to fly.
But really the windows help the visibility dramatically.
Yes.
For me.
Yep.
Leaving altitude.
Delta Golf Victor, you're almost...
So I'm heading to Beckwith.
Uh-huh.
In that direction.
That's 7 knots, favoring runway 34, and there is local traffic.
So airspeed and level of the plane are go together.
Absolutely. So there's another instrument on our instrument cluster there that will give you more of an immediate feedback to what the plane is doing, and that's this one right here. It's called a vertical speed indicator.
Okay.
If the needle is on the 0, the theory is that the plane should be relatively level. If the needle is above the 0, that means we're in a climb, and it's telling you the rate the climb is happening. So right now we are level.
Over the 400 now.
Okay, now we're descending.
Yeah.
So this will give you more of an immediate feedback than this one will. It's very hard to control it, especially your first time. That's why I always recommend, or any flight instructor would recommend, try not to get too caught up in instrumentation until you're, like, say, at hour 5 of flight training. You want to get a good idea what the sight picture should be outside the plane for level flight, and pretty much level right now.
Well, you would also have some people would have a sense of level, wouldn't they?
Absolutely they do, yes. And those people are few and far between, and that's part of the reason why we do such intense training, to kind of program that into people.
So our astronauts must be incredible people.
Oh yes.
So can you fly right through those clouds, or?
We legally are not supposed to. We can do it.
Why is that? Why is it illegal?
It depends on what type of license rating a person has. And in order to fly through clouds, you have to have a license called an IFR license. That means you're able to fly a plane without any window at all. So you can fly just by looking at this.
Right.
And since I don't carry that license, I could not do that.
Those are not very big clouds.
They're not big. But if I got caught, I would be in trouble.
I see.
Wow, this is totally uninhabited, this island.
Beckwith, yes. Correct.
Okay, Calling with traffic, Gulf X-ray Juliet Hotel.
Did you want to fly in the direction of Thunder Beach?
West of the field.
I don't know if we have enough time.
Oh yeah, it's right here.
No, I was going to ask if we had enough time to get to Giant's Tomb or not. If we don't, we can turn around now and hit Thunder
Remind
Beach.
me where that is.
Right in front of us.
Oh, that's the island right there?
Right there.
Sure.
Are we okay? Do you want to go left of this?
No, we're okay.
Don't want to.
You can try it.
We don't want the cloud police to nail us. All right.
It'll just get mildly turbulent.
But what about all these stunt plane guys? They must start out in stuff like, they must love a craft like this.
Oh yes, absolutely. Yeah, those guys go through a very different, they all start the same way. So you all start learning how to fly and get your license, and then from that they'll do aerobatic training, which is really intense. So you're climbing constantly, just to let you know.
Okay.
It's good, it's safer to be high when we're over vast areas of water.
Okay.
Because in the event, if we ever had an engine failure, we have a lot more time to glide to safety. And this plane glides like nobody's business.
Glide to safety meaning find land?
Find land, yes. So if we fly over large areas of water, our safety envelope becomes height. We just start going higher and higher and higher, so we're able to glide back to land. Now, to be honest with you, if we did have an engine failure in the area we are at right now, I would probably be not trying to go for land. I would try to go close to land and land in the water.
I'm going to say there's a lot of trees where we are.
Exactly.
So I gather flying, number one rule is it's all about safety.
Yes, absolutely.
Even more so than boating.
Oh yes.
So what about gliding? The traditional gliders, that looks really hard.
It is. It's not my thing. I don't care for it because I love the fact that I have an engine.
Yeah.
And when I fly, I want to go where I want to go. I don't want to be told what to do constantly by the weather.
Right.
Mind you, the weather tells you a lot still, but this is way more forgiving. Like, you're not going to take a glider to go out for dinner with your wife in Quebec City, but in this, no problem, right?
So you can get to Quebec City in this?
Absolutely. The range on this plane when the tanks are full is 700 nautical miles.
So what would Quebec City be nautical? 400, 500?
You know what? I'm not too sure what Quebec City is, but I do know I have flown this plane south, and I got to North Carolina before I needed fuel.
Oh, that's Quebec City, easily.
Yeah.
Yeah, Quebec City is a 13-hour bus drive from Toronto, or 12 or whatever. So there's supposed to be a couple of cottages on that island.
Really?
Guessing they're on the northeast side.
Yeah.
But we don't. So should we turn around now?
Sure. See, in the turn, you're gently ascending, so we're still climbing, which is fine. I just want to make sure that you know what's happening.
You're ascending when you turn, so I was conscious of trying to keep it up.
You were, but I think your compensation was just a little too much, but that's fine.
Up or down?
A little bit too much up.
Oh, okay.
So you'll see right here, we're just constantly in a climb. Now, the theory is, once I trim this plane, so when we got up in the air, I tried to fly it as level as possible, and I used on here is a down and up trim button. There's a little tiny flap at the very tail of the plane that I can adjust the trim, similar to a boat with a trim tab.
Okay.
So I trimmed it for neutral. So the theory is if you let go of that stick, it should level itself off on its own.
Really?
Yeah, so just gently take your hand off it. So we're still in a bit of a climb, so I'm just going to push the nose down just a little bit and see if it levels.
Directly north of the field, direct dollar.
So right now we are level. Doing a tiny bit of a descent because we're in a turn. But we are level. I'm just going to level the wings to really double check it. So neither one of us are doing anything flying this thing right now. It's flying itself.
That's not autopilot though.
No, autopilot would be me pushing this button right here.
Autopilot.
Now it's going to hold this heading and this altitude.
So, similar to cruise control in a car.
Yep.
Because all it's controlling is this part.
Exactly.
And the speed, right?
That's right.
And it adjusts for the turbulence?
It will. If we start getting whacked around from the wind, it will compensate, do all that stuff. So this plane is very advanced for training purposes. Like, we don't use any of that for training.
Right.
See, it's correcting right now. It feels a little bit veering off because it's going to a compass heading. Once I push that, it picked the compass heading and it's trying to get us there. So it's compensating for winds by doing the turns.
So in the Cessna, it's more like this and this, right?
Correct. So I'm going to turn that off and let you control it again.
So are we higher than you would normally fly?
No. 3,800 feet is a nice altitude for safety. Can you recognize and see your place?
Well, we're in the trees, but the neighbor has a big vacant lot beside us, and I can see that crystal clear. So,
oh yeah,
you go down that right side, and where you see the most amount of wood on the coast, there's a big long boardwalk.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful spot.
That's the neighbor, and we're in the trees beside him. So those runways you see in the forest, that's a golf course.
Yeah.
That one of the local guy, or one of the cottagers built. And it's quite amazing, and he lets people play on it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Leaving altitude.
We'll ignore her.
What is she saying?
She just said that we were leaving altitude. Anywhere this little bug is set is where I'm setting an altitude bug just to keep us honest in the same area, right? So if I just turn this knob, it'll move to whatever altitude I choose.
Okay.
The cool thing about flying, or even learning to fly in this area, is we are in uncontrolled airspace. So we don't have to deal with powers telling us what to do, where to be, what altitude to be at. We can do whatever we want here, which makes it that much freeing for practice and exercise.
And what is that just to do with the volume of traffic, or is it governmental?
Governmental. Well, they'll pick areas that are high volume of traffic. Like once we get down south of Newmarket, it becomes controlled airspace. So that's when I would actually physically have to call up and talk to a control tower, and they give us permission to enter.
Right.
And they'll tell us what altitude to be at, what heading to be at. But here we can do whatever the heck we want. You're getting the hang of this thing.
Well, it's really subtle.
It is.
Anyway, we were up in his plane. We went to Perry Sound and back. Very noisy. I was in the back seat or front seat visibility is half of this.
Yep.
You know, it wasn't as. This is 1,000% more comfortable and
I agree.
Relaxing.
I agree 100%.
So it's like driving a new Sea-Doo versus a the original Sea-Doos.
That's right.
So that's Little Lake over there, right?
Yes. The lake in Midland?
Yep.
Yeah. There's Penetanguishene here. And off in the distance there where the lake is Midland.
But it's just amazing the I mean, you really got to study it to figure out, translate it to being on the ground.
Yep, hence the training, right? That all comes in time. You start getting a really good 3D perspective of the world from up top. Become a bit of a map nerd. You know, I remember back to training, just spending hours with a coffee, looking through maps and studying them, right? Just to get that perspective.
Well, I love geography. And this just gives you a whole other perspective.
Oh, yeah, and flight training is not what it used to be. You know, back in the day, they used to call it, you know, it's a rich man's thing, right? Nowadays, it's much more affordable than it was when I got my license. Then this category of airplane came along. This category in Canada is called an advanced ultralight. So this is not general aviation. So the license requirements are half, actually a little less than half. So you can get a license in this category for $4,500.
Right.
To fly this type of aircraft for cost per hour to run it, you're looking at about, if it's personal ownership, factoring in your insurance and all that stuff, maybe $35 an hour to operate one of these.
Right.
So it's like owning a snowmobile, even a little cheaper. 3.5 gallons an hour they burn of car gas. So you can run aviation fuel in this, or you can run the high octane, no ethanol pump gas from Shell.
And why would you choose either?
There's better longevity on your engine life if you stay with the car gas. The aviation fuel has lead in it. So that means that it's good for the engine, but you have to change your oil every 25 hours with aviation fuel, as opposed to car gas every 50 hours.
What's that large body of water there?
That's Lake Simcoe.
You're kidding. Wow. From here, it looks rather large.
Oh yeah, it's a big lake. Well, let's start descending this thing just a little bit.
Yep.
Just put that nose forward. The only reason why I see that wall of cloud, and we're getting a little closer to it.
So is the temperature changing because of the altitude?
Exactly. Every 1,000 feet we climb in the air, it's a temperature loss. It's a temperature loss of 2 degrees Celsius. So right now it's telling us our outside air temperature is 5 degrees Celsius. So we are now about, let me see, our ground elevation started at 800 feet. So we're 3,000 and change feet in the air. So we're about 6 degrees colder than it is on the ground.
Calm your 5x5.
So in the summer, this is where we want to hang out up here because it's nice and cool.
What altitude do you want to be at?
Why don't we go down to, say, 3,500? Wow, that guy's radio's in bad shape.
Good, I thought it was my ears.
No, that was him.
Look at that solar farm.
Yeah.
Midland area traffic, Amphib Kilo Echo Lima is currently due west of the field, 1 mile offshore Palm Beach. Heading up the shoreline about 5 miles north. I'm going to turn from Muskoka 2,100.
We're crossing over 93, right?
Yes.
Approaching altitude.
Like, look at that massive wetland right there. Like,
That's right, yeah.
would never have.
That's where,
Juliet at 2,800 feet.
what's the name of that, where it's the native Indian village, across from the big cathedral in Midland?
Oh, St. Huron.
That's right. That's, see where the...
St. Maria among the Huron.
That's right, St. Maria among the Huron is right there where the highway is. So this is the traditional fishing spot of the natives there.
Approaching altitude.
This whole marsh wetlands area, and I could start to see that cathedral there. Martyr Shrine, I think it's called.
Yes. Are you looking over there?
Yep.
Yeah, because that's Highway 12 over there, right?
Correct.
Leaving altitude.
Delta Golf Victor, Missing Conquer 3x5.
So we're below 3,500.
That's okay. We could be at any altitude we want as long as we're not too low. And too low is anything below 1,000 feet.
So why is that? Because in the Cessna we were quite low.
Well, you can go low. If it's, the law states that we can, since this is considered rural, we can be 500 feet over the ground.
Okay.
If we fly over a built-up area, like a municipality, like Midland or Penetanguishene, we have to be 1,000 feet over the ground.
Okay.
Now, ground level here is 800 feet in the Midland area. So we would have to be 1,800 feet to fly over top of Midland. But here, we can be only 500 feet above 800, right? We could be at 1,300 feet above the ground to be legal.
So that's Ore Lake over there.
It is. You're doing very well on this. I'm not doing anything, so.
We bank
Sure.
left, because you're somewhere down over there, right?
Yeah, we still got time, though.
So what is that right there?
Across the way there?
It's like the little bay, there's a blue thing.
That is Victoria Harbour.
Okay. Boy, if you could fly everywhere, it'd be a short commute to quite a few places.
Absolutely. And for $4,500, you can.
Midland area traffic, Amphib Kilo Echo Lima is currently 5 miles north of the field at 2,100. Heading from Muskoka, I'll keep an eye out for the departing traffic. I should be fly before you get here if you're straight out.
So 4,500 is for what?
To get a license in this category is the average cost to get a license.
Right.
The limitations on this category has to be a plane that's designated as an ultralight or advanced ultralight, and this is designated as an advanced ultralight.
Right.
Cost for buying one of these planes are expensive to buy a brand new one. So this brand new is about $144,000.
Right.
On the used market, I've seen them go as low as $45,000, but that's not with any of this digital stuff. It's all old analog gauges.
Right.
Similar to the Cessna you were probably flying in.
So what does a new Cessna cost?
Cessnas are in that range too, like brand new, $160,000.
What's the older Cessnas?
Oh geez, I've seen them as low as 10 grand.
And that's flyable?
I would
Not really.
I would be nervous about it.
Right. So there's Midland,
Yep.
and then beyond is Penetang. That's a good angle.
Absolutely.
I've been sliding high,
That's okay.
just dropping the nose
That's right.
a little.
Yeah, what usually takes people the longest time to get, and that's why we usually focus on it for about 2 hours, is trying to learn how to fly an aircraft straight and level, to understand where the horizon should be above this brow.
Right.
But today's like a fun flight. Come on up, learn what it's like to fly, right?
So since I'm short, I'd like a dashboard that stops right about there.
I hear you. Unfortunately, though, this is actually low compared to some planes.
I totally agree.
So the Cessna's way up here, you know?
I agree 100%. And we just bought an old boat, a cabin cruiser, and I love it because it has a fly bridge.
Oh, nice.
And I see over everything.
That's right.
For me, I'm huge on, I love visual.
Yep.
And
Approaching altitude.
I enjoy seeing everything.
Absolutely.
So the reason I'm turning a lot is I'm trying to get a view.
Yeah,
I don't get it.
Put the nose forward. That's part of the problem. You're climbing constantly, right?
Okay.
So that should help you a bit there, because here is level right there.
Oh, so I'm, yeah, I get
You're
you.
deliberately nosing it up, so you're
So
making
I want to
your
be
vision.
there.
That's right.
Yep, okay.
Now, and if you truly wanted to learn how to flight train, I would just bring my booster cushion, right? Bring you even up higher. Bring you up another 2 inches, and that would really make a difference.
Collingwood traffic, Bravo Foxtrot Juliet at 2,800 feet, over top the field with a left turnout going south.
Is that Y Marsh over there?
Midland area traffic, Amphib Kilo Echo Lima is currently at 2,100 just south of Penetang, heading for ballast, switching over to en route frequency now.
That is...
I see something over there flying.
Yeah, that's in there. That is called Tiny Marsh.
That's Tiny Marsh, okay.
Yeah.
You can see why there's so much wildlife. I mean, I know we can crowd them out, but
Yeah.
there's places people don't go.
Exactly. Yeah, that whole Tiny Marsh is quite impressive from above, because yeah, I never see people there, so it makes a perfect home for all the wildlife.
Leaving altitude. Approaching
And it
altitude.
looks like that was one heck of an infrastructure project years ago whenever they made that, because the zigzags they cut in the marsh, and I just can't imagine why. Like, why did they do all that work to this marsh?
Is there an answer?
I haven't got one yet.
Right.
I've asked a few people about it, but you'll see what I mean when we if we fly over top of it and you look down. There's just weird patterns that they put in there, and I'm thinking, that's man hours. That's serious time that somebody put in there.
So if you're out doing what you like to do in a plane, what speed do you fly at?
Generally, this is about the speed we do, because 83 knots, we're moving.
Traffic, Houston 150 Golf Alpha Golf Victor, currently 6 nautical miles north of the field, heading towards Penetang, Midland area for local sightseeing at 2,300 feet.
So the way it works is 100 miles per hour, 100 knots is equal to 115 miles per hour. Okay, so we're doing 85 knots. Our ground speed is 100 knots, so we're doing 115 over the ground. Okay. That's a decent rate of speed for a small aircraft.
Yes.
Leaving altitude.
So when will they have Google aerial maps?
I know, huh?
Wouldn't it be, that would, to me it'd be huge. Like if you could see this on, like I mean the way they get the stuff that we see on the ground, it's just people driving around in cars.
That's right.
Why wouldn't they have people driving around in planes? I mean, it would have value.
I think so.
So you're referring to those, it's almost like a pathway going out.
There is a pathway, but right when we get over it, you'll see right on this side here, they got these zigzags. I don't know if you can see down in here.
Yeah.
The southeast edge of it.
Yes. Those are communications to the aliens.
Yeah, tell me about it. Huh? It's just strange that somebody would put that kind of fuel and man hours, and God only knows when they were done.
The Aztecs used to be here.
And even to cut all these pathways, like what was the purpose?
I don't know, is there any commercial fishing or anything going on?
It's like a marsh. It's no deeper than like 3 or 4 feet.
You're increasing the speed?
I'm increasing power because you're climbing and we're slowing down,
oh,
right?
Sorry.
And I don't want the plane to go too slow.
So if you get in trouble with a trainee, you have to be stronger in them to control the
In theory,
stick?
yes, but most likely nobody wants to come up and do any harm to themselves. So they usually let go when I yell, I have control. Actually, I've never had anybody really fight me on it. Some people will panic and freeze, but I'll just gently, grab control of the stick, force it.
Well, I imagine so the tough part of flying is the landing, right?
It's one of the tougher parts. I'd say the most difficult part is learning the radio lingo, learning the air law, and navigation. The flying part, I don't know, because I'm such a mechanical type person, it was never challenging for me doing the flying part.
Right.
But I see where some people have a tough time with the whole aspect of operating a vehicle in a 3-dimensional environment like this, right?
Right.
Or some people only have that sort of 2-dimension brain, and as long as you understand you have all these dimensions below and above and side to side.
Well, it's very similar to boating except for the additional dimension.
Exactly. Yep.
And you're right. It's the lingo.
Yeah.
And the laws or the rules.
Exactly.
And that takes time and effort.
It does.
Where this part is the easy part.
Exactly.
So the boat is a bonus because, you go online, get your license.
That's right.
In an hour. And
get a bottle of whiskey and you're ready.
And now you can still get in trouble.
Oh, yeah.
But so the part about the Cessna was the noise. Yeah, I didn't find that relaxing at all.
And who knows, maybe the guy had old headsets too. Like, these are all brand new, right? So they really keep the sound out.
The headsets were annoying. Your head was hurting after.
Yeah.
So if you compare that to being on a big boat on a sunny day on the water with the wind blowing in your hair.
That's right.
It wasn't quite the same experience. Although, it's all about the visual aspect.
That's right.
And it was cool. And we were flying at a significantly, lower level.
Yeah.
From Penetang to Perry Sound over that, whatever that land is called.
Yeah, I'm bad with some of the names of the places up there.
So I think in the next, what are we? Next 30 years, this whole area is going to blossom. I mean, it already has.
Yeah.
And going to upset some people.
Oh, for sure.
So what is that body of water over there with those dotted white buildings? Or structures, or?
I'm only going by what one of my clients told me, and I think they called it 8 Mile Lake.
Really?
I think that's what they called it.
Oh, 8 miles there.
I know.
Maybe around it twice.
I think it keeps going though, right? Like it links all the way up through there.
No, sorry. I'm looking at. Oh, I thought I was looking at the solar farm, and it looked like water from the angle before. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
So what we're going to do now is we're going to start descending this plane and going back in the direction of the airport.
Yeah, we just passed it.
Yep. So I'm going to just make a radio announcement. And Midland area traffic, SportStar India Juliet Kilo Yankees at 4,300 feet, 4 miles east of the airport. Going to descend to circuit height, cross overhead the field, and join a Midland downwind for 3-4.
So you're going to take it?
I can take it from here.
Sure.
This is where it starts getting a little challenging.
Sure.
So what I'm going to show you though, I'm going to show you, because a lot of people I find have a misconception of what could happen in the event of an engine failure.
Right.
I'm not going to give you an engine failure, but I'm going to simulate one. And I'm going to just show you how safe these aircraft are to fly. If by chance we were flying along and all of a sudden we blew a piston, this is all we would feel. There, the engine is essentially off. So all I have to do is keep this plane above 60 knots, and this thing's flying perfectly safe.
And you do that by controlling the nose? So
Yep, exactly. Your airspeed is achieved by the stick. If I want to speed up, I just let the nose come down. You'll see that airspeed start increasing. Slower down, I just pull back a little bit. So this is where I'd be looking for a nice, safe place to land, and looking at all these farmers' fields, finding just the right spot to go to. But that's it.
Approaching altitude.
Well, there's a lot of skill in finding where to land, because a lot of that stuff's pretty rough.
Yeah, but there is, right below us, there's plenty of fields. There's some beautiful fields right below us.
Leaving altitude.
And even at this altitude, I would go right to that airport.
Right.
I'd just glide us right over to the airport and land safely on the runway.
Now, do people still choose roads?
Well, you got to choose whatever you can to survive, right?
Yeah. Telephone poles would be good.
Yeah, it's one of the last things I would think about is a road.
Right.
Yeah, it's the telephone poles, the wires, and then other people, right? You don't want to hurt somebody else because you had an engine failure.
Right.
But with this altitude we're at here, would it be no problem for me to make it to that runway with this gliding distance?
Now there's a dirt road right there.
Yep.
With nobody on it.
But it would be very hard for me to get down there without doing about 3 circles to get to that altitude safely.
Oh.
Because if I just nose down, we'll be going way too fast. So that's why it comes into the training, right? To learn the aircraft at all of its different flight characteristics. See, now we're getting low and we're starting to get hit by those thermals.
Right.
So it looks like the final portion of our ride here is going to be turbulent. We were spoiled up there.
That's all right.
So part of the air law thing is around every single airport is what we call the circuit or the landing pattern. And I have to descend this plane to 1,000 feet above the ground when I'm in the vicinity of this airport. So I have to be at 1,800 feet. I still have a ways to go. Almost there. I have to fly over top of this runway at a 90-degree angle at 1,800 feet to enter the thing called the circuit. Because we're going to be landing in this direction.
Gotcha.
So this is the procedure we use to land, and this is what confuses a lot of people, right? This whole, how do I enter the airport to land in that direction?
That Air Canada pilot didn't learn that, eh?
No.
That was amazing that he came that close to...
Oh, yeah. So here I'm going to have to start making quite a few announcements. Midland traffic, Juliet Kilo Yankees overhead the field to join a mid-left downwind 3-4.
A little bit different than 8 o'clock this morning, isn't it?
Oh yeah, but it's nice at 4,000. things I heard there on the radio.
So is there an air traffic controller in the...
Nope. Nope.
Oh, there's nobody there, right?
There is somebody there. What he is we call him a unicom. What he'll do is tell us what the wind conditions are like on the ground, but other than that, he has no control of the traffic.
Okay. Does he have to be there for you, or
Nope.
not?
No.
Okay.
Midland traffic, Juliet Kilo Yankee, turning mid-left downwind, 3-4.
Yeah, depending on the airport, this one is municipally owned, so they pay a guy to be there as a service to pilots, so he'll let us know the price of fuel. He'll let us know if there's deer hanging around on the runway, anything like that. And he'll tell us wind directions, wind speeds, but he doesn't have to. It's only when he's in the office and answers the thing. And even right now, I wasn't even talking to him, I was talking to another pilot that was flying around. He just made that comment to us.
Right.
If I want to call the guy on the ground here, I would actually have to address it by saying Midland Unicom, and then he would answer me.
Right.
Midland traffic, Juliet Kilo Yankee, turning left base, 3-4, full stop.
Yeah, I anticipate this final approach to be very turbulent. Okay. So this is the fun part. This is where I have to slow this aircraft down so it's ready for landing. I want to get it into the airspeeds where that little white arc is on that airspeed indicator. Then I'm actuating my flaps now.
Altitude.
So my flaps are on now, so what that causes, that gives us a better sight picture of the ground. It gives us a nose down attitude, but the plane's safely flying still.
Midland traffic, Juliet Kilo Yankee is final, 3-4, full stop.
All I'm doing right now is just concentrating on my airspeed. I have no power on in the engine at all. We're at total idle. So similar to if we had an engine failure. And I'm just steering this plane and controlling that airspeed by pushing that stick either forward or backwards. I want to be at a perfect 60 to 65 knots. And of course, there's got to be a crosswind, so that makes it more exciting. This is where I start using my pedals, left and right. See how it brings that nose left and right?
Yep.
Look at that, just like that.
Moving the stick, you're just trying to keep it...
Exactly, all balanced, justified, and steering that nose with the tail, with the rudders.
Did the autopilot do that?
Unfortunately not. I wish it would.
But it does on the large Boeing.
To a degree. They still do, even, 777s, those large planes, they still are doing the landing themselves. They'll have audible warnings. But those planes land a lot differently too. They don't have much of that float like we just had there. We get into what we call a condition called ground effect, and the plane continues to float. Then we have time to adjust that. They are so heavy, they just come straight in, and they want to get all their lineup done before they're close to the ground.
Right.